Hello. Maleeha, hello.
Hello, how are you?
Very well. Great to meet you. So, for those who don't know, I have the privilege tonight of an interview with Maleeha Bertin. Maleeha is a life coach, YouTuber, and the author of 2 books, The Girl Who Loved Herself and 101 Plus Ways to Transform Yourself. Maleeha's tagline is a guide to living a happy and satisfying life. Maleeha, welcome.
Thank you very much for such a warm welcome. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm grateful and happy that you're here too. So, starting with the questions. Question 1. So, you are a fascinating, active, and positive person who empowers women. You were a banker for 15 years, but now you are a life coach, author, and you recently started a YouTube channel. That is quite a career change. What made you decide to leave the banking sector and in particular to start writing books?
Well, it's a journey in itself. I never thought I would be writing books or actually even become a life coach. I got married to my husband, but even before that, even before the marriage and everything and my life changes, I used to write notes here and there, on Facebook, my personal page, and then my Facebook business page as well, and some other blog. So that was out of passion and hobby. But then I got married in 2016 and 17. By the end of 17, I moved to London and I wasn't sure what to do. And I thought, let's use this time to actually write, which was a passion.
I agree with you.
So that's how my first book came out. And it was very natural and I completely enjoyed it. And after that, the second came even naturally. I mean, it just happened. I wasn't sure, I didn't know. And the life coaching also was just like that. Somebody introduced me to attend the coaching academy pre-session. I went there and then I said, man, this is for me. So I just enrolled for that. And YouTube just came out like that as well. It was like, oh my God, it was fascinating. I started enjoying. It was a forum which is more interacting and engaging. So I just enjoyed it. It all came together very nicely.
Well, it certainly is. You're making a massive success of it. Your first book is called The Girl Who Loved Herself. It is a novel that deals with many tough and serious matters, such as abuse, acceptance of life, and cultural pressures, to name but 3. What inspired you to write this story?
Well, unfortunately, where I come from, which is Pakistan, these issues are common, and that's why I said it's unfortunate. So, having been born and brought up there, I think my biggest inspiration was that place in itself. So, I wanted to address these issues, and they're a bit sensitive, but I was able to write my thoughts on that. Yeah.
Well done to you.
Thank you.
On your Amazon page, it says that 10 years ago you were, and I quote, struggling with many issues in life, such as disappointments, depression, and failure in love, or at least a perceived failure in love. If you don't mind me asking, do these issues still haunt you?
Well, firstly, I'll have to say, well done on your research, man. That's interesting.
The least I can do.
So, well perceived love, as you said very rightly. And 10 years ago, I was struggling with all those things, and even before those.
Really?
But I think that was the biggest transformation that started to happen then. And of course, they don't haunt you. It doesn't haunt me anymore at all. It's like a screen, now when I look back, for me it's like a movie which goes through. And that's why the second name of my second book is Transformation, which means when you transform from within, whatever happens in your life as an experience, it just stays as you're a witness and you're more detached. So it doesn't really matter. For me, it's like the best experiences, even though they were worst when I was going through. But later I realized they were the biggest blessings in disguise, and they've helped me become who I am today. So yes, it was difficult, but that has really helped me. And not haunt anymore. Never.
I'm really happy to hear that, Maleeha. Keep it up, basically. Don't let the past haunt you again.
Yes.
You've mentioned this already a little bit, but I want to go into a little bit more detail. How did you become a life coach and an expert in self-love? Where did you get your knowledge from? As I don't think you can just acquire it in a course somehow.
But definitely not from a course. You can't. You have to take that inner journey. I mean, and only it is very interesting because I never knew there was something like self-love or love yourself. I never knew. What I was trying to do was make my different areas of life better. And one of those was, let's say, dating. The other was spiritual, becoming spiritual, to understand what's happening and how I can relate and how it can help me. And there were a couple of more areas, financial freedom, and I'm very independent, so I wanted to be more independent and bold woman, and many of those things. So all of those coming together very nicely. Eventually, I found out, and now I know that it's all about loving yourself. The more I was looking for the answer, on the outside, I realized no, it's just within me. I can get a trigger or ideas, but eventually, it's within me. I know what it needs to have and whatever I need. So that's when I found out that it was all about self-love. It's about self-discovery, self-exploration, understanding yourself, knowing yourself, and all of that in a short word, it's self-love. But if you know a bit about poetry, there are many Persian poets and philosophers who talk about in different languages this concept of self-love. But self-love, some people thought it's a bit new agey, but actually, if you look at Urdu poets and other poets, Rumi especially, it's all they say, the heaven is inside you, the divine is inside you. So that's how I got all this together in a very nicely interesting form. And now I feel that it's all about self-love. It's all about exploring layer by layer yourself. So that's how I know.
I actually don't know a lot about that. So thank you very much for informing me. Great. As a life coach and an expert in self-love, what sort of questions do you get asked by your clients? And do these questions ever inspire your writings?
Well, actually, the number one question I get asked is how can we love ourselves? And number two is I think people think there should be a formula to life. Like just give me a formula and my life will change. And I tell them it's not going to happen that way. You'll have to take this journey. It's a journey. All of life is a journey. And there's no one formula that fits all. So that has, I have lived that life, and that is what I get the questions, and this is what I tell them. And as regards to your second question, that it inspires my books, my next second book was written last year, which is 2019. So I had just started life coaching a year ago. So I think I mentioned one or two events with my clients, cases which I've mentioned in the book. But I think going forward, it should be more about those experiences with the clients, because I started a year ago and I don't have many written then, like I have now. So in hopefully the next book,
Cool. I look forward to it. Speaking of your second book, that's the topic of this question. Your second book is 101 plus ways to transform your life. If someone asked you for just 3 ways from your book, which ones would you choose?
Well,
which 3 ways would you choose to transform your life?
Okay, so going back 10 years ago, with all that depression, the first thing which I learned was life is about fun, and fun. And this is something which nobody had told me. And I realized there was this heavy burden of trying to pretend, trying to be somebody else, getting somewhere, making the effort, and still things were not working. So I decided to just chill out and enjoy my life. And that became my mantra. So no matter what may come, I am enjoying my life. So that's one.
Good.
And number two, what we were talking about, the blessings in disguise. So I think whatever happens, happens for good. And if you can just look at whatever is happening from the positivity of it, from the positive way, then actually negative way. There are 2 different ways to look at it. So when you look at it in a positive perception, the outcome, you might understand, a couple of years later that why something happened in your life. But it's only through this perception and positivity you will let life flow through you. And that is what is amazing. So I think my second is like, whatever happens, it happens for good. You may not know, but it happens for good. your parent losses or whatever, all of that is just happening for some reason, and that is for good. And I by the way, implement these already in my life. They're just part of me. And the third is life is always working out for me. Everything is always working out. So I just have to trust. When especially, you're not so happy, or something is not happening well in your life, you're heartbroken or whatever happens, which is not so pleasant, or losses or whatever. I think the best is to just trust that this time will pass and everything is working out, because it is like this. Life can be like this, but it's going to be okay. So you just have to trust. And I'm like always telling myself that no matter what may happen, you just have to trust, believe, and have faith. Everything is going to be fine. So
It's
those three
very
are.
inspiring. Very inspiring, and you really do sound like you practice what you preach. It's great to see. Keeping up with the topic of self-love and happiness, what 3 books or films would you recommend someone to read on those subjects? And you can't include your own novels in this either.
I would include my own, but anyways. Well,
Uh,
as I said, I didn't know about self-love, so I was trying to sort different areas of my life. So number one was this book that somebody gave me, which was Law of Attraction, by Rhonda Byrne, which I felt like this really opened me to something new, and that's when I started to work on myself. But there was another book which I read, not book, but actually videos of Abraham Hicks, Easter Hicks, uh, Ask and It Is Given to You, and many other videos in detail about law of attraction. So that was basically 2, but I'll select 3 in the end, okay? And then about spirituality was Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God, very famous book, and even Eckhart, Power of Now and A New Earth and Awakening and all those. So those, and what would be the third? Law of Attraction and spirituality. Do I really want to give 3? Well, 3 is dating,
you've
actually.
actually given about 5 there or something, so you've probably done it. But
Yeah.
they're great. They're great. I've got to look into them.
Okay, I remember relationships and dating. So I think Steve Harvey's Act Like a Lady and Think Like a Man. And Shiri Argav's also a couple of books on women and men, and John Gray's book as well. But if I have to select just 3, I would say the Rhonda Byrne, Law of Attraction, The Secret, and Neil Donald's Conversations with God. And for number 3, I would say, Steve Harvey, Act Like a Lady and Think Like a Man. I think, those 3 books. But not many movies. I've not watched many movies, but these 3 books.
It's good enough. It's good enough. Those are good suggestions. You should. Yeah, I hope you recommend them to your clients above all else. I have watched some of your YouTube videos, and they're very informative. In one of your videos, you talk passionately about stopping the blame game. In your opinion, why is it that so many people play the blame game, and does the blame game ever frustrate you?
It does,
I
of
think you've
course.
answered that question already.
I'm on the second question. Um, well, as I said in my video, that it is very hard to blame, and what is more difficult is to take responsibility. And that's one reason people blame others, because it's very easy to do that, and also because they don't want to take responsibility. So if something bad happens in your life, you could always put the blame on somebody else and get over with it. You never have to come back. You never have to think. You never have to worry about anything. You've moved on in your life. So that's very easy, and I think that's why people do that. And as regards to it frustrates me, it sure does. And not in 2 ways, actually. One is when people blame me. Like, I have no clue. I can get into somebody, create illnesses or create anger, which is completely frustrating. How can I do that? I can't do that, so that's very frustrating. And secondly, some of my clients, they tell me, well, you don't know my mom, and you don't know my boyfriend, you don't know my ex-husband, or my whatever, my sister. And I'm like, that is them. So you have to keep them out of the equation, and let's just focus on you and see how and what we can do for you. So yeah, it frustrates me when I have to push people and even tell people, excuse me, I have nothing to do with that.
I really can empathize with this, honestly. Your answers are brilliant. Thank you. If this is about you as a writer and as a person as well, if you could go back in time and give your younger self some advice about the writing process, what would it be? This happens to be one of my favorite questions, by the way.
Okay. Well, I remember when I started writing, I used to carry even papers and pens in my bag. And then I started to write on the notepad of my iPhone. And eventually, then blogs and everything came out as well. So I feel like if you like to write, number first, this thing is that if you want to write, if you like to write, if you enjoy and you're passionate about, then you should just write, and write wherever you can. So for me, it was like something was coming to me. I would just take out my pen and paper and write. I would take out my iPhone and just write. So I think the best is you just write. That's what you should do.
Good. Working for you. What have you found the hardest part about the writing process and the video making process?
Well, for the writing, I feel writing itself was easy, but what was difficult and bit frustrating was, the editing part. It seems like it's never ending. There's line editing, there's copy editing. I don't know, there's so many kinds of editing. And I was like, at some point, we have to move on with this. So that was a bit annoying, but it's part of it. So, yeah. And for videos, I think wasn't very challenging. But in the first one or two videos, I felt like, okay, what if I went blank and I didn't know what to say? That was a bit of unknown fear. But after I did a couple of videos, I was like, I think my mind got used to it and mine started working in a way like it was okay. The videos weren't very difficult in that aspect, yeah.
Good.
Before I started doing videos, I was a bit shy, a bit nervous. I didn't know. I was like, oh no, I don't know if I can or I can't. But after I started to do it, it was completely fine. It all came together. I enjoyed it.
Brilliant. I have to ask you, are you writing another book currently? And if so, could you tell us a bit about it, please?
Yes, I'm currently writing a book because that is linked to one of the course that I'm creating, which is on gratitude. So the book is about the power of gratitude, why is gratitude so important, the benefits, and about the course, and some of my stories that, how to look at something and just be thankful and then train yourself to be thankful no matter what. And that's an exercise that you do. I think it's a 7-day course and it's with exercises and stuff. So the book is regarding that course, gratitude. Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a bit more about the course?
Well, it's a 7-day course. I had done one course before, if you know that. Yeah, I created this course of 20-day self-development. Yeah. So that's
it's on your YouTube. That's what I've seen.
Okay, about self-love and self-development and all of that. So yeah, that's a 20-day, that's a longer course. This is relatively smaller. It's a 7-day course. So every day, you in those exercises that you do, you have to turn your attention towards a particular subject or particular thing so that, you can train yourself to look at everything with gratefulness, which is like, if you can't find anything today, you can say, I'm thankful for the air that I can breathe. So slowly, you have to bring this in your life, you have to be thankful for whatever you have. So that's what the course is about. My idea is to inculcate people to look at things with gratefulness. So, instead of just focusing on what is not working and what they're upset about, if they can just turn the attention and focus towards that what is working and that what they can be thankful for, it will affect in many ways happiness, your daily, life. You don't. So let's say in the morning you wake up and something doesn't work well, you get a bad email and then you're upset, blah blah blah. But suddenly, if you just change your attention towards something which is working, which is good, and you're breathing, you are healthy, whatever, and then that thing will not take power over you. So suddenly now you can be happy throughout the day. So that's the idea that about it. There are a couple of things which I'm mentioning in that book, that how it can help you, why it is so important. And that's one thing they should practice in the morning, in the evening, and you should train yourself to that. Yeah.
Sounds like a very beneficial course, and you sound incredibly passionate about it, which will make the course worthwhile in and of itself.
Yeah.
Lastly, Outside of your work and your writings, what do you like to do?
I do many things. One of the things is traveling. Well, traveling is my dream, a dream coming true, as in, traveling to Europe. So I've traveled to a couple of places and I'm always thinking where to travel next, plan this. And then I like to celebrate life. So I'm just looking for events and options when and where I can celebrate, like birthdays or any occasion. So, or otherwise shopping.
Sounds delightful. Sounds like a lot of fun. I hope you
Yeah.
can do it to your heart's content. Well, Maleeha, thank you very, very much. That concludes all my questions. You've answered them fantastically in a very informative way with a lot of passion, enthusiasm, and positivity. Um, Thank you for taking the time out. And to everyone watching this, I will leave links in the description below so you can follow Maleeha on Instagram, Facebook. You're on Facebook,
Yep.
yes? And on YouTube as well. Do follow her. She is brilliant to watch, as you've seen tonight. Have a
Thank you.
great night, everyone. And to you too, Maleeha. All the best.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure.
No
Bye.
problem at all.